Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you are looking at this week's video, and this week we are looking at two more verses as we continue our path through the book of First Peter. Again, we are in chapter 2. We're starting a new paragraph, and that is chapter 2, verses 4 through 10. We are going to look at verses 4 and 5 this week. If you recall, we suggested here, at least I suggested to you all, that it's likely chapter 2, verses 1 through 10, really could be a paragraph, and I decided to break it up 2, 1 through 3, and then 2, 4 through 10. So we're beginning the 4 through 10 portion of that larger paragraph. And so let's translate here. So, by coming to him, the living stone. On the one hand, having been rejected by men, but on the other hand, to God. So here's to God, precious choice or valuable choice. And you also as living stones are being built up as a spiritual house for a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices. And again, those spiritual sacrifices are acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. So as we think through these verses, again, a lot's going on there in those two verses. But if you look here, you have the pros ergomenoi. So here's your participle, present middle participle, masculine nominative plural. Again, as you can tell by the way that I translated it when I said by coming, it's likely it's a participle of means. Then your zonta here. Zonta is also a participle. It's a present active participle, masculine, and of course it's accusative singular because it is considered an attributive participle that is modifying or attributing equality to the word stone, which is in the accusative case. And you'll notice here we have a men de construction. That's why I translated it on the one hand, and then I said but on the other hand here. Again, basically you could say it's two halves of a story, and they're contrasting halves. And it's important that Peter's using that because obviously the second portion of that half is that we see the living stone, who is Christ. He is valuable, or he is an honorable choice to God. Whereas on the first portion of this contrast is the living stone was rejected by men. Then you have the apa de da kemas menon. Okay, and this here, this is a perfect participle. Okay, perfect participle. It's passive, masculine, accusative, singular. It's apa da kemazo. It's an attributive participle, attributing a quality to the stone. That is that he was being rejected by men. So that's the quality, if you will, that's being attributed back to the living stone. Then you have the para theo, and that is a not a participle, it's a preposition. And you can see, and again, I put the bracket around the wrong word. It should be theo. There we go. Para theo with the de there. Probably spatial when it says there that On the other hand, he says he's near to God. So this is this spatial concept that he's near to God. Now the kai altoi here, kai altoi, probably fronted for emphasis again, and there's a change in recipients from Jesus down to Peter's readers, verses 4, verse 5. You have a hos here. It's descriptive in the sense that it's describing Peter's readers as what are they? They're living stones. Once again, here's zone test that's attributing the quality to stones, providing us with who Peter's readers are, that is, they're living stones. Then you have an oi ka da meste. Okay, here's my verb here. A second person plural, present passive indicative of oi kata meo. It's God working on behalf of Peter's readers, which is why it's passive. He is working on their behalf. Have another prepositional phrase here, ace, as it's moving forward for the purpose of or for the goal of a holy priesthood. And then the ane neg kai. And here's my infinitive, aorist active infinitive again, likely purpose infinitive. Purpose is that you would offer up, specifically spiritual sacrifices there. And then a to theo here, your dative, probably a dative of reference, where you are, those spiritual sacrifices are acceptable with reference to, namely God. And then, of course, the last prepositional phrase, dia Jesu Christu, basically that is the acceptable sacrifices are possible because it's through Jesus's role as the mediator. So he's, you could say, the agent by which these sacrifices are made possible by us as the living stones. Again, trust this has been helpful. We're well on our way into chapter 2 here, verses 4 and 5. Have a great week. I will see you next week.